Hare Krishna. Welcome to the Srimad Bhagavatam reading Yajna. We'll start. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Narayanam Namaskrityam Naram Chaiva Narottamam Devim Saraswatim Vyasam Tato Jayat Mudirayet Ashtaprayeshu Abhadreshu Nityam Bhagavat Sevaya Bhagavati Uttama Shlokir Bhaktir Bhavati Nashtaki. Today we are reading from Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 7, Chapter 7. We'll start with verse 1. Damodar, you ready?
Ready.
All right.
Chapter 7, What Prahlad Learned in the Womb. Text 1. Narad Muni said, although Prahlad Maharaj was born in a family of Asuras, he was the greatest of all devotees. Having thus been questioned by his class friends, the sons of the Asuras, he remembered the words spoken to him by me and replied to his friends as follows. Text 2. Prahlad Maharaj said, when our father, Hiranyakashipu, went to Mandarachala mountain to execute severe austerities, in his absence, the demigods, headed by King Indra, made a severe attempt to subdue all the demons in warfare. Text 3. Alas, as a serpent is eaten by small ants, so the troublesome Hiranyakashipu, who always inflicted miseries upon all types of people, has now been defeated by the reactions of his own sinful activities. Saying this, the demigods, headed by King Indra, arranged to fight the demons. Texts 4 and 5. When the great leaders of the demons, who were being killed one after another, saw the unprecedented exertion of the demigods in fighting, they began to flee, scattering themselves in all directions. Simply to protect their lives, they hastily fled from their homes, wives, children, animals, and household paraphernalia. Paying no heed to all these, the demons simply fled. Text 6. The victorious demigods plundered the palace of Hiranyakashipu, the king of the demons, and destroyed everything within it. Then, Indra, king of heaven, arrested my mother, the queen. Text 7. As she was being led away, crying in fear like a kurari captured by a vulture, the great sage Narada, who at that time had no engagement, appeared on the scene and saw her in that condition. Text 8. Narad Muni said, O Indra, king of the demigods, this woman is certainly sinless. You should not drag her off in this merciless way. O greatly fortunate one, this chaste woman is the wife of another. You must immediately release her. Text 9. King Indra said, in the womb of this woman, the wife of the demon Hiranyakashipu, is the seed of that great demon. Therefore, let her remain in our custody until her child is delivered, and then we shall release her. Text 10. Narad Muni replied, the child within this woman's womb is faultless and sinless. Indeed, he is a great devotee, a powerful servant of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Therefore, you will not be able to kill him. Text 11. Then the great Saint Narad Muni, when the great Saint Narad Muni had thus spoken, King Indra, being respectful to Narad's words, immediately released my mother. Because of my being a devotee of the Lord, all the demigods circumambulated her. Then they returned to their celestial kingdom. Text 12. Prahlad Maharaj continued, the great Saint Narad Muni brought my mother to his ashram and assured her of all protection, saying, my dear child, please remain at my ashram until the arrival of your husband. Text 13. After accepting the instructions of Devarshi Narad, my mother stayed in his care without fear from any direction, as long as my father, the king of the Daityas, had not become free from his severe austerities. Text 14. My mother, being pregnant, desired the safety of her embryo and desired to give birth after her husband's arrival. Thus, she stayed at Narad Muni's ashram, where she rendered service unto Narad Muni with great devotion. Text 15. Narad Muni delivered his instructions both to me, who was within the womb, and to my mother, who was engaged in rendering him service. Because he is naturally extremely kind to the fallen souls, being in a transcendental position, he gave instructions on religion and transcendental knowledge. These instructions were free from all material contamination. Text 16. Because of the long duration of time that has passed, and because of her being a woman and therefore less intelligent, my mother has forgotten all those instructions, but the great sage Narad blessed me, and therefore I could not forget them. Text 17. Prahlad Maharaj continued, My dear friends, if you can place your faith in my words, simply by that faith you can also understand transcendental knowledge, just like me, although you are small children. Similarly, a woman can also understand transcendental knowledge and know what is spirit and what is matter. Text 18. Just as the fruits and flowers of a tree in due course of time undergo 6 changes, birth, existence, growth, transformation, dwindling, and then death, the material body, which is obtained by the spirit soul under different circumstances, undergoes similar changes. However, there are no such changes for the spirit soul. Text 19 and 20. Atma refers to the Supreme Lord, or the living entities. Both of them are spiritual, free from birth and death, free from deterioration, and free from material contamination. They are individual. They are the knowers of the external body, and they are the foundation or shelter of everything. They are free from material change. They are self-illuminated. They are the cause of all causes, and they are all-pervading. They have nothing to do with the material body, and therefore they are always uncovered. With these transcendental qualities, one who is actually learned must give up the illusory conception of life, in which one thinks, I am this material body, and everything in relationship with this body is mine. Text 21. An expert geologist can understand where there is gold, and by various processes can extract it from the gold ore. Similarly, a spiritually advanced person can understand how the spiritual particle exists within the body, and thus by cultivating spiritual knowledge, he can attain perfection in spiritual life. However, as one who is not expert cannot understand where there is gold, a foolish person who has not cultivated spiritual knowledge cannot understand how the spirit exists within the body. Text 22. The Lord's 8 separated material energies, the 3 modes of material nature, and the 16 transformations, or the 11 senses and the 5 gross material elements like earth and water. Within all these, the one spiritual soul exists as the observer. Therefore, all the great acharyas have concluded that the individual soul is conditioned by these material elements. Text 23. There are 2 kinds of bodies for every individual soul: a gross body made of 5 gross elements, and a subtle body made of 3 subtle elements. Within these bodies, however, is the spirit soul. One must find the soul by analysis, saying, this is not it, this is not it. Thus, one must separate spirit from matter. Text 24. Sober and expert persons should search for the spirit soul with minds purified through analytical study in terms of the soul's connection with and distinction from all things that undergo creation, maintenance, and destruction. Text 25. Intelligence can be perceived in 3 states of activity: wakefulness, dreaming, and deep sleep. The person who perceives these 3 is to be considered the original master, the ruler, the supreme personality of Godhead. Text 26. As one can understand the presence of the air by the aromas it carries, so, under the guidance of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, one can understand the living soul by these 3 divisions of intelligence. These 3 divisions, however, are not the soul. They are constituted of the three modes and are born of activities. Text 27. Through polluted intelligence, one is subjected to the modes of nature, and thus one is conditioned by material existence. Like a dreaming state in which one falsely suffers, material existence, which is due to ignorance, must be considered unwanted and temporary. Text 28. Therefore, my dear friends, O sons of the demons, your duty is to take to Krishna consciousness, which can burn the seed of fruitive activities artificially created by the modes of material nature, and stop the flow of the intelligence in wakefulness, dreaming, and deep sleep. In other words, when one takes to Krishna consciousness, his ignorance is immediately dissipated. Text 29. Of the different processes recommended for disentanglement from material life, the one personally explained and accepted by the Supreme Personality of Godhead should be considered all perfect. That process is the performance of duties by which love for the Supreme Lord develops. Texts 30 and 31. One must accept the bona fide spiritual master and render service unto him with great devotion and faith. Whatever one has in one's possession should be offered to the spiritual master, and in the association of saintly persons and devotees, one should worship the Lord, hear the glories of the Lord with faith, glorify the transcendental qualities and activities of the Lord, always meditate on the Lord's lotus feet, and worship the deity of the Lord strictly according to the injunctions of the Shastra and Guru. Text 32. One should always remember the Supreme Personality of Godhead in his localized representation as the Paramatma, who is situated in the core of every living entity's heart. Thus, one should offer respect to every living entity according to that living entity's position or manifestation. Text 33. By these activities, as mentioned above, one is able to cut down the influence of the enemies, namely lust, anger, greed, illusion, madness, and jealousy, and when thus situated, one can render service unto the Lord. In this way, one surely attains the platform of loving service to the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Text 34. One who is situated in devotional service is certainly the controller of his senses, and thus he is a liberated person. When such a liberated person, the pure devotee, hears of the transcendental qualities and activities of the Lord's incarnations for the performance of various pastimes, his hair stands on end on his body, tears fall from his eyes, and in his spiritual realization his voice falters. Sometimes he very openly dances, sometimes he sings loudly, and sometimes he cries. Thus he expresses his transcendental jubilation. Text 35. When a devotee becomes like a person haunted by a ghost, he laughs and very loudly chants about the qualities of the Lord. Sometimes he sits to perform meditation, and he offers respects to every living entity, considering him a devotee of the Lord. Constantly breathing very heavily, he becomes careless of social etiquette and loudly chants like a madman, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, O my Lord, O Master of the universe. Text 36. The devotee is then freed from all material contamination because he constantly thinks of the Lord's pastimes and because his mind and body have been converted to spiritual qualities. Because of his intense devotional service, his ignorance, material consciousness, and all kinds of material desires are completely burnt to ashes. This is the stage at which one can achieve the shelter of the Lord's lotus feet. Text 37. The real problem of life is the repetition of birth and death, which is like a wheel rolling repeatedly up and down. This wheel, however, completely stops when one is in touch with the Supreme Personality of Godhead. In other words, by the transcendental bliss realized from constant engagement in devotional service, one is completely liberated from material existence. All learned men know this. Therefore, my dear friends, O sons of the Asuras, immediately begin meditating upon and worshiping the Supersoul within everyone's heart. Text 38. O my friends, sons of the Asuras, the Supreme Personality of Godhead in his Supersoul feature always exists within the cores of the hearts of all living entities. Indeed, he is the well-wisher and friend of all living entities, and there is no difficulty in worshiping the Lord. Why then should people not engage in his devotional service? Why are they so addicted to unnecessarily producing artificial paraphernalia for sense gratification? Text 39. One's riches, beautiful wife and female friends, one's sons and daughters, one's residence, one's domestic animals like cows, elephants, and horses, one's treasury, economic development, and sense gratification. Indeed, even the lifetime in which one can enjoy all these material opulences are certainly temporary and flickering. Since the opportunity of human life is temporary, what benefit can these material opulences give to a sensible man who has understood himself to be eternal? Text 40. It is learned from Vedic literature that by performing great sacrifices, one may elevate himself to the heavenly planets. However, although life on the heavenly planets is hundreds and thousands of times more comfortable than life on Earth, the heavenly planets are not pure, nirmalam, or free from the taint of material existence. The heavenly planets are also temporary, and therefore they are not the goal of life. The Supreme Personality of Godhead, however, has never been seen or heard to possess inebriety. Consequently, for your own benefit and self-realization, you must worship the Lord with great devotion, as described in the revealed scriptures. Text 41. A materialistic person, thinking himself very advanced in his intelligence, continually acts for economic development. But again and again, as enunciated in the Vedas, he is frustrated by material activities, either in this life or in the next. Indeed, the results one obtains are inevitably the opposite of those one desires. Text 42. In this material world, every materialist desires to achieve happiness and diminish his distress, and therefore he acts accordingly. Actually, however, one is happy as long as one does not endeavor for happiness. As soon as one begins his activities for happiness, his conditions of distress begin. Text 43. A living entity desires comfort for his body and makes many plans for this purpose. But actually, the body is the property of others. Indeed, the perishable body embraces the living entity and then leaves him aside. Text 44. Since the body itself is ultimately meant to become stool or earth, what is the meaning of the paraphernalia related to the body, such as wives, residences, wealth, children, relatives, servants, friends, kingdoms, treasuries, animals, and ministers? They are also temporary. What more can be said about this? Text 45. All this paraphernalia is very near and dear as long as the body exists, but as soon as the body is destroyed, all things related to the body are also finished. Therefore, actually, one has nothing to do with them, but because of ignorance, one accepts them as valuable. Compared to the ocean of eternal happiness, they are most insignificant. What is the use of such insignificant relationships for the eternal living being? Text 46. My dear friends, O sons of the Asuras, the living entity receives different types of bodies according to his previous fruitive activities. Thus, he is seen to suffer with reference to his particular body in all conditions of life, beginning with his infusion into the womb. Please tell me, therefore, after full consideration, what is the living entity's actual interest in fruitive activities, which result in hardship and misery? Text 47. The living entity, who has received his present body because of his past fruitive activity, may end the results of his actions in this life, but this does not mean that he is liberated from bondage to material bodies. The living entity receives one type of body, and by performing actions with that body, he creates another. Thus, he transmigrates from one body to another, though through repeated birth and death, because of his gross ignorance. Text 48. The four principles of advancement in spiritual life, dharma, artha, kama, and moksha, all depend on the disposition of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Therefore, my dear friends, follow in the footsteps of devotees. Without desire, fully depend upon the disposition of the Supreme Lord. Worship him, the Supreme Soul, in devotional service. Text 49. The Supreme Personality of Godhead, Hari, is the soul and the supersoul of all living entities. Every living entity is a manifestation of his energy in terms of the living soul and the material body. Therefore, the Lord is the most dear, and he is the supreme controller. Text 50. If a demigod, demon, human being, yaksha, gandharva, or anyone within this universe renders service to the lotus feet of Mukunda, who can deliver liberation, he is actually situated in the most auspicious condition of life, exactly like us, the Mahajans, headed by Prahlad Maharaj. Text 51 and 52. My dear friends, O sons of the demons, you cannot please the Supreme Personality of Godhead by becoming perfect brahmanas, demigods, or great saints, or by becoming perfectly good in etiquette or vast learning. None of these qualifications can awaken the pleasure of the Lord, nor by charity, austerity, sacrifice, cleanliness, or vows can one satisfy the Lord. The Lord is pleased only if one has unflinching, unalloyed devotion to him. Without sincere devotional service, everything is simply a show. Text 53. My dear friends, O sons of the demons, in the same favorable way that one sees himself and takes care of himself, take to devotional service to satisfy the Supreme Personality of Godhead, who is present everywhere as the supersoul of all living entities. Text 54. O my friends, O sons of demons, everyone, including you, the yakshas and rakshasas, the unintelligent women, shudras and coward men, the birds, the lower animals, and the sinful living entities, can revive his original, eternal, spiritual life and exist forever simply by accepting the principles of Bhakti Yoga. Text 55. In this material world, to render service to the lotus feet of Govinda, the cause of all causes, and to see him everywhere, is the only goal of life. This much alone is the ultimate goal of human life, as explained by all the revealed scriptures.
Thank you, Damodar. Hare Krishna. So we are going to read. I'm going to read chapter 8. Lord Nrsimhadev slays the king of the demons. Lord Nrsimhadev ki jai. Text 1. Narada Muni continued. All the sons of the demons appreciated the transcendental instructions of Prahlad Maharaj and took them very seriously. They rejected the materialistic instructions given by their teachers, Sanda and Amarka. 2. When Sanda and Amarka, the sons of Shukracharya, observed that all the students, the son of the demons, were becoming advanced in Krishna consciousness because of the association of Prahlad Maharaj, they were afraid. They approached the king of the demons and described the situation as it was. 3 and 4. When Hiranyakashipu understood the entire situation, he was extremely angry, so much so that his body trembled. Thus, he finally decided to kill his son Prahlad. Hiranyakashipu was by nature very cruel, and feeling insulted, he began hissing like a snake trampled upon by someone's foot. His son Prahlad was peaceful, mild, and gentle. His senses were under control, and he stood before Hiranyakashipu with folded hands. According to Prahlad's age and behavior, he was not to be chastised. Yet, with staring, crooked eyes, Hiranyakashipu rebuked him with the following harsh words. 5. Hiranyakashipu said, O most impudent, most unintelligent disruptor of the family, O lowest of mankind, you have violated my power to rule you, and therefore you are an obstinate fool. Today I shall send you to the place of Yamaraj. 6. My son Prahlad, you rascal, you know that when I'm angry, all the planets of the three worlds tremble, along with their chief rulers. By whose power has a rascal like you become so impudent that you appear fearless and overstep my power to rule you? 7. Prahlad Maharaj said, My dear king, the source of my strength, of which you are asking, is also the source of yours. Indeed, the original source of all kinds of strength is one. He is not only your strength or mine, but the only strength for everyone. Without him, no one can get any strength. Whether moving or not moving, superior or inferior, everyone, including Lord Brahma, is controlled by the strength of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. 8. Supreme Personality of Godhead, who is the supreme controller and time factor, is the power of the senses, the power of the mind, the power of the body, and the vital force of the uh, of the senses. His influence is unlimited. He is the best of all living entities, the controller of the three modes of material nature. By his own power, he creates this cosmic manifestation, maintains it, and annihilates it also. 9. Prahlad Maharaj continued, My dear father, please give up your demoniac mentality. Do not discriminate in your heart between enemies and friends. Make your mind equipoised towards everyone. Except for the uncontrolled and misguided mind, there is no enemy within this world. When one sees everyone on the platform of equality, one then comes to the position of worshipping the Lord perfectly. 10. In former times, there were many fools like you who did not conquer the six enemies that steal away the wealth of the body. These fools were very proud, thinking, I have conquered all enemies in all the 10 directions. But if a person is victorious over the six enemies and is equipoised towards all living entities, for him there are no enemies. Enemies are merely imagined by one in ignorance. 11. Hiranyakashipu replied, You rascal, you are trying to minimize my value as if you were better than me at controlling the senses. This is over-intelligent. I can therefore understand that you desire to die at my hands, but this kind of nonsensical talk is indulged in by those about to die. 12. O most unfortunate Prahlad, you have always described the supreme being other than me, the supreme being who's above everything, who's the controller of everyone, and who's all pervading. But where is he? If he's everywhere, then why is he not present before me in this pillar? 13. Because you're speaking so much nonsense, I shall now sever your head from your body. Now let me see your most worshipful God come to protect you. I want to see it. 14. Being obsessed with anger, Hiranyakashipu was very great in bodily strength, thus chastised his exalted devotee son Prahlad with harsh words. Cursing him again and again, Hiranyakashipu took up his sword, got up from his royal throne, and with great anger struck his fist against the column. 15. Then from within the pillar came a fearful sound which appeared to crack the covering of the universe. O my dear Yudhishthir, this sound reached even the abodes of the demigods like Lord Brahma. And when the demigods heard it, they thought, Oh, now our planets are being destroyed. 16. While showing his extraordinary prowess, Hiranyakashipu, who desired to kill his own son, heard that wonderful tumultuous sound which had never before been heard. Upon hearing the sound, the other leaders of the demons were afraid. None of them could find the origin of that sound in the assembly. 17. To prove that the statement of his servant Prahlad Maharaj was substantial, in other words, to prove that the Supreme Lord is present everywhere, even within the pillar of an assembly hall, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Hari, exhibited a wonderful form never before seen. The form was neither that of a man nor that of a lion. Thus the Lord appeared in his wonderful form in the assembly hall. 18. While Hiranyakashipu looked all around to find the source of the sound, that wonderful form of the Lord, which could not be ascertained to be either a man or a lion, emerged from the pillar. In amazement, Hiranyakashipu wondered, What is this creature that is half man and half lion? 19 to 22. Hiranyakashipu studied the form of the Lord, trying to decide who the form of Nrsimhadev standing before him was. The Lord's form was extremely fearsome because of his angry eyes, which resembled molten gold, his shining mane, which expanded the dimensions of his fearful face, his deadly teeth, and his razor sharp tongue, which moved about like a drooling sword. His ears were erect and motionless, and his nostrils and gaping mouth appeared like caves of a mountain. His jaws parted fearfully, and his entire body touched the sky. His neck was very short and thick, his chest broad, his waist thin, and the hair on his body as white as the rays of the moon. His arms, which resembled flanks of soldiers, spread in all directions as he killed the demons, rogues and atheists with his conch shell, disc, club, lotus, and other natural weapons. 23. Hiranyakashipu murmured to himself, Lord Vishnu, who possesses great mystic power, has made this plan to kill me? But what's the use of such an attempt? Who can fight with me? Thinking like this and taking up his club, Hiranyakashipu attacked the Lord like an elephant. 24. Just as a small insect falls forcefully into a fire and the insignificant creature becomes invisible, when Hiranyakashipu attacked the Lord, who was full of effulgence, Hiranyakashipu became invisible. This is not at all astonishing, for the Lord is always situated in pure goodness. Formerly, during creation, he entered the dark universe and illuminated it by his spiritual effulgence. 25. Thereafter, the great demon Hiranyakashipu, who was extremely angry, swiftly attacked Lord Nrsimhadev with his club and began to beat him. Lord Nrsimhadev, however, captured the great demon along with his club, just as Garuda might capture a great snake. O Yudhishthir, O great son of Bharat, when Lord Nrsimhadev gave Hiranyakashipu a chance to slip from his hand, just as Garuda sometimes plays with his snake and lets it slip from his mouth, the demigods who had lost their abodes and who were hiding behind the clouds for fear of the demon did not consider that incident very good. Indeed, they were very perturbed. 27. When Hiranyakashipu was freed from the hands of Nrsimhadev, he falsely thought that the Lord was afraid of his prowess. Therefore, after taking a little rest from the fight, he took up his sword and shield and again attacked the Lord with great force. 28. Making a loud, shrill sound of laughter, the Supreme Personality of Godhead Narayan, who is extremely strong and powerful, captured Hiranyakashipu, who was protecting himself with his sword and shield, leaving no gaps open. With the speed of a hawk, Hiranyakashipu moved sometimes in the sky and sometimes on earth, his eyes closed because of fear of Lord Nrsimhadev's laughter. 29. As a snake captures a mouse or Garuda captures a very venomous snake, Lord Nrsimhadev captured Hiranyakashipu, who could not be pierced even by the thunderbolt of Indra. As Hiranyakashipu moved his limbs here, there, and all around, very much afflicted at being captured, Lord Nrsimhadev placed the demon on his lap, supporting him with his thighs, and in the doorway of the assembly hall, the Lord very easily tore the demon to pieces with the nails of his hand. 30. Lord Nrsimhadev's mouth and mane were sprinkled with drops of blood, and his fierce eyes, full of anger, were impossible to look at. Licking the edge of his mouth with his tongue, the Supreme Personality of Godhead Nrsimhadev, decorated with a garland of intestines taken from Hiranyakashipu's abdomen, resembled a lion that had just killed an elephant. 31. The Supreme Personality of Godhead, who had many, many arms, first uprooted Hiranyakashipu's heart and then threw him aside and turned towards the demon's soldiers. These soldiers had come in thousands to fight with him with raised weapons and were very faithful followers of Hiranyakashipu. But Lord Nrsimhadev killed all of them merely with the ends of his nails. 32. The hair on Nrsimhadev's head shook the clouds and scattered them here and there. His glaring eyes stole the effulgence of the luminaries in the sky, and his breathing agitated the seas and oceans. Because of his roaring, all the elephants in the world began to cry in fear. 33. Airplanes were thrown into outer space and the upper planetary system by the hair on Nrsimhadev's head. Because of the pressure of the Lord's lotus feet, the earth appeared to slip from its position, and all the hills and mountains sprang up due to his intolerable force. Because of the Lord's bodily effulgence, both the sky and all directions diminished in their natural illumination. 34. Manifesting a full effulgence and a fearsome countenance, Lord Nrsimha, being very angry and finding no contestant to face his power and opulence, then sat down in the assembly hall on the excellent throne of the king. Because of fear and obedience, no one could come forward to serve the Lord directly. 35. Hiranyakashipu had been exactly like a fever of meningitis in the head of the three worlds. Thus, when the wives of the demigods in the heavenly planets saw that the great demon had been killed by the personal hands of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, their faces blossomed in great joy. The wives of the demigods again and again showered flowers from heaven upon Lord Nrsimhadev like rain. 36. At that time, the airplanes of the demigods, who desired to see the activities of the Supreme Lord Narayan, crowded the sky. The demigods began beating drums and kettle drums, and upon hearing them, the angelic women began to dance, while the chief of the Gandharvas sang sweetly. 37 to 39. Mighty King Yudhishthira, the demigods then approached the Lord. They were headed by Lord Brahma, King Indra, and Lord Shiva, and included great saintly persons and residents of Pitriloka, Siddhaloka, Vidyadharloka, and the planets of the snakes. The Manus approached, and so did the chiefs of various other planets. The angelic dancers approached, as did the Gandharvas, the Charanas, the Yakshas, the inhabitants of Kinnara Lok, the Vitalas, the inhabitants of Kimpurusha Lok, and the personal servants of Vishnu like Sunanda and Kumuda. All of them came near the Lord, who glowed with intense light. They individually offered their obeisances and prayers, their hands folded at their heads. 40. Lord Brahma prayed, My Lord, you are unlimited and you possess unending potencies. No one can estimate or calculate your prowess and wonderful influence, for your actions are never polluted by the material energy. Through the material qualities, you very easily create the universe, maintain it, and again annihilate it, yet you remain the same without deterioration. I therefore offer my respectful obeisances unto you. 41. Lord Shiva said, The end of the millennium is the time for your anger. Now that his insignificant demon Hiranyakashipu has been killed, O my Lord, or very naturally affectionate to your devotee, kindly protect his son Prahlad Maharaj, who is standing nearby as your fully surrendered devotee. 42. King Indra said, O Supreme Lord, you are our deliverer and protector. Our shares of sacrifices, which are actually yours, have been recovered from the demon by you. Because the demoniac king Hiranyakashipu was most fearsome, our hearts, which are your permanent abode, were overtaken by him. Now, by your presence, the gloom and darkness in our hearts have been dissipated. O Lord, for those who always engage in your service, which is more exalted than liberation, all material opulence is insignificant. They don't even care for liberation, not to speak for the benefits of karma, artha, and dharma. 43. All saintly persons present offer their prayers in this way. O Lord, O Supreme Maintainer of those sheltered at your lotus feet, O original personality of Godhead, the process of austerity and penance in which you instructed us before is the spiritual power of your very self. It's by austerity that you create the material world which lies dormant within you. This austerity was almost taught by the activities of this demon, but now, by yourself appearing in the form of Nrsingadev, which is meant just to give us protection, and by killing this demon, you have again approved the process of austerity. 44. The inhabitants of Pitriloka prayed, Let us offer respectful obeisances unto Lord Nrsingadev, the maintainer of the religious principles of the universe. He has killed Hiranyakashipu, the demon, who by force enjoyed all the offerings of the Shraddh ceremonies performed by our sons and grandsons on the anniversaries of our death, and who drank the water with sesame seeds offered in holy places of pilgrimage. By killing this demon, O Lord, you've taken back all this stolen property from his abdomen by piercing it with your nails. We therefore wish to offer our respectful obeisances unto you. 45. The inhabitants of Siddhaloka prayed, O Lord Nrsingadev, because we belong to Siddhaloka, we automatically achieve perfection in all 8 kinds of mystic powers. Yet Hiranyakashipu was so dishonest that by the strength of his power and austerity, he took away our powers. Thus he became very proud of his mystic strength. Now, because this rogue has been killed by your nails, we offer our respectful obeisances unto you. 46. The inhabitants of Vidyadhara Loka prayed, Our acquired power to appear and disappear in various ways, according to varieties of meditation, was banned by that foolish Hiranyakashipu because of his pride and his superior bodily strength and his ability to conquer others. Now the Supreme Personality of Godhead has killed him, just as if the demon were an animal. To that supreme pastime form of Lord Nrsingadev, we eternally offer our respectful obeisances. 47. The inhabitants of Nagaloka said, The most sinful Hiranyakashipu took away all the jewels on our hoods and all our beautiful wives. Now, since his chest has been pierced by your nails, you are the source of all pleasure to our wives. Thus we together offer our respectful obeisances unto you. 48. All the Manus offered their prayers as follows. As your order carriers, O Lord, we the Manu are the lawgivers for human society. But because of the temporary supremacy of this great demon, Hiranyakashipu, our laws for maintaining Varnashram Dharma were destroyed. O Lord, now that you have killed this great demon, we are in our normal condition. Kindly order us, your eternal servants, what to do now. 49. The Prajapatis offered their prayers as follows. O Supreme Lord, Lord of even Brahma and Shiva, we the Prajapatis were created by you to execute your orders. But we were forbidden by Hiranyakashipu to create any more good progeny. Now the demon is lying dead before us, his chest pierced by you. Let us therefore offer our respectful obeisances unto you, whose incarnation in this form of pure goodness is meant for the welfare of the entire universe. 50. The inhabitants of Gandharva Loka prayed, Your Lordship, we ever engage in your service by dancing and singing in dramatic performances. But this Hiranyakashipu, by the influence of his bodily strength and valor, brought us under his subjugation. Now he has been brought to this low condition by your Lordship. What benefit can result from the activities of such an upstart as Hiranyakashipu? 51. The inhabitants of the Charana planet said, O Lord, because you have destroyed the demon Hiranyakashipu, who was always a stake in the hearts of all honest men, we are now relieved. And we eternally take shelter of your lotus feet, which award the conditioned soul liberation from materialistic contamination. 52. The inhabitants of Yaksha Loka prayed, O controller of the 24 elements, we are considered the best servants of your leader, of your lordship, because of rendering services pleasing to you. Yet we engaged as palanquin carriers by the order of Hiranyakashipu, the son of Diti. O Lord, in the form of Nrsingadev, you know how this demon gave trouble to everyone, but now you have killed him. His body is mixing with the 5 material elements. 53. The inhabitants of Kimpurusha Lok said, We are insignificant living entities and you are the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Supreme Controller. Therefore, how can we offer suitable prayers unto you? When this demon was condemned by devotees because they were disgusted with him, he was then killed by you. 54. The inhabitants of Vitalika Loka said, Dear Lord, because of chanting your spotless glories in great assemblies and arenas of sacrifice, we were accustomed to great respect from everyone. This demon, however, usurped that position. Now, to our great fortune, you have killed this great demon exactly as one cures a chronic disease. 55. The Kinnara said, O Supreme Controller, we are ever existing servants of your Lordship, but instead of rendering service to you, we were engaged by this demon in his service, constantly and without remuneration. This sinful man has now been killed by you. Therefore, O Lord Nrsingadev, our master, we offer our respectful obeisances to you. Please continue to be our patron. 56. The associates of Lord Vishnu and Vaikuntha offered this prayer. O Lord, our supreme giver of shelter, today we have seen your wonderful form as Lord Nrsingadev, meant for the good fortune of all the world. O Lord, we can understand that Hiranyakashipu was the same Jaya who engaged in your service but was cursed by Brahmanas and who thus received the body of a demon. We understand that his having now been killed is your special mercy upon him. Thus end the translation of chapter 8, Mother Siskasaka, chapter 9.
Hare Krishna, chapter 9. Prahlada pacifies Lord Nrsimhadev with prayers. Text 1. The great saint Narada Muni continued. The demigods headed by Lord Brahma, Lord Shiva, and other great demigods dared not come forward before the Lord, who at that time was extremely angry. Text 2. The goddess of fortune, Lakshmiji, was requested to go before the Lord by all the demigods present, who, because of fear, could not do so. But even she had never seen such a wonderful and extraordinary form of the Lord, and thus she could not approach him. Text 3. Thereafter, Lord Brahma requested Prahlad Maharaja, who was standing very near him, My dear son, Lord Nrsimhadev is extremely angry at your demonic father. Please go forward and appease the Lord. Text 4. Narada Muni continued, O king, although the exalted devotee Prahlad Maharaja was only a little boy, he accepted Lord Brahma's words. He gradually proceeded toward Lord Nrsimhadev and fell down to offer his respectful obeisance with folded hands. Text 5. When Lord Nrsimhadev saw the small boy Prahlad Maharaj prostrated at the soles of his lotus feet, he became most ecstatic in affection towards his devotee. Raising Prahlada, the Lord placed his lotus hand upon the boy's head because his hand is always ready to create fearlessness in all of his devotees. Text 6. By the touch of Lord Nrsimhadeva's hand on Prahlad Maharaj's head, Prahlad was completely freed from all material contamination and desires, as if he had been thoroughly cleansed. Therefore, he at once became transcendentally situated, and all the symptoms of ecstasy became manifest in his body. His heart filled with love and his eyes with tears, and thus he was able to completely capture the lotus feet of the Lord within the core of his heart. Text 7. Prahlad Maharaja fixed his mind and sight upon Lord Narasimhadev with full attention in complete trance. With a fixed mind, he began to offer prayers in love with a faltering voice. Text 8. Prahlad Maharaja prayed, "How is it possible for me, who have been born in a family of asuras, to offer suitable prayers to satisfy the Supreme Personality of Godhead? Even until now, all demigods headed by Lord Brahma and all the saintly persons could not satisfy the Lord by streams of excellent words. Although such persons are very qualified, being in the mode of goodness, then what is to be said of me? I'm not at all qualified." Text 9. Prahlad Maharaja continued, "One may possess wealth and aristocratic family, beauty, austerity, education, sensory expertise, luster, influence, physical strength, diligence, intelligence, and mystic yogic power. But I think that even by all these qualifications, one cannot satisfy the Supreme Personality of Godhead. However, one can satisfy the Lord simply by devotional service. Gajendra did this, and thus the Lord was satisfied with him." Text 10. If Brahmana has all 12 of the Brahmanical qualification, as they are stated in the book called Sanat Sujata, but is not a devotee and is averse to the lotus feet of the Lord. He is certainly lower than a devotee who is a dog eater, but who has dedicated everything, mind, words, activities, wealth, and life, to the Supreme Lord. Such a devotee is better than such a Brahmana because the devotee can purify his whole family, whereas the so-called Brahmana in a position of false prestige cannot purify even himself. Text 11. The Supreme Lord, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, is always fulfilled, satisfied in himself. Therefore, when something is offered to him, the offerings by the Lord mercy is for the benefit of the devotees, for the Lord does not need service from anyone. To give an example, if one's face is decorated, the reflection of one's face in a mirror is also seen to be decorated. Text 12. Therefore, although I was born in a demonic family, I may without a doubt offer prayers to the Lord with full endeavor, as far as my intelligence allows. Anyone who has been forced by ignorance to enter the material world may be purified of material life if he offers prayers to the Lord and hears the Lord's glories. Text 13. O my Lord, all the demigods headed by Lord Brahma are sincere servants of your lordships who are situated in a transcendental position. Therefore, they are not like us, Prahlad and his father, the demon Hiranyakashipu. Your appearance is in his fearsome form is your pastime for your own pleasure. Such an incarnation is always meant for the protection and improvement of the universe. Text 14. My Lord Narasimhadeva, please therefore cease your anger now that my father, the great demon Hiranyakashipu, has been killed. Since even saintly persons take pleasure in the killing of a scorpion or a snake, all the words have achieved great satisfaction because of the death of this demon. Now they are confident of their happiness, and they will always remember your auspicious incarnation in order to be free from fear. Text 15. My Lord, who are never conquered by anyone, I'm certainly not afraid by your ferocious mouth and tongue, your eyes bright like the sun, or your frowning eyebrows. I do not fear your sharp, pinching teeth, your garland of intestine, you mane soaked with blood, or your high wedge-like ears. Nor do I fear your tumultuous roaring, which make elephant flee to distant place, or your nails, which are meant to kill your enemies. Text 16. O most powerful, insurmountable Lord, who are kind to the fallen souls, I have been put into the association of demons as a result of my activities, and therefore I'm very much afraid of my condition of life within this material world. When will the moment come when you will call me to the shelter of your lotus feet, which are the ultimate goal for liberation from conditional life? Text 17. O Great One, O Supreme Lord, because of combination with pleasing and displeasing circumstances, and because of separation from them, one is placed in a most regrettable position within heavenly or hellish planets, as if burning in a fire of lamentation. Although there are many remedies by which to get out of miserable life, any such remedies in the material world are more miserable than miseries themselves. Therefore, I think that the only remedy is to engage in your service. Kindly instruct me in such service. Text 18. O my Lord Narasimhadeva, by engaging in your transcendental loving service in the association of devotees who are liberated souls, Hamsas, I shall become completely uncontaminated by the association of three modes of material nature and be able to chant the glories of your Lordship, who are so dear to me. I shall chant your glories, following exactly in the footsteps of Lord Brahma and his disciplic succession. In this way, I shall undoubtedly be able to cross the ocean of nescience. Text 19. My Lord Narasimhadeva, O Supreme, because of a bodily conception of life, embodied souls, neglected and not cared for by you, cannot do anything for their betterment. Whatever remedies they accept, although perhaps temporarily beneficial, are certainly impermanent. For example, a father and mother cannot protect their child, a physician and medicine cannot relieve a suffering patient, and a boat on the ocean cannot protect the drowning man. Text 20. My dear Lord, everyone in the material world is under the modes of material nature, being influenced by goodness, passion, and ignorance. Everyone, from the greatest personality, Lord Brahma, down to the small ant, works under the influence of these modes. Therefore, everyone in the material world is influenced by your energy. The cause for which they work, the place where they work, the time when they work, the matter due to which they work, the goal of life they have considered final, and the process for obtaining this goal are all are nothing but manifestation of your energy. Indeed, since the energy and energetic are identical, all of them are but manifestation of you. Text 21. O Lord, O Supreme Eternal, O Lord, O Supreme Eternal, by expanding your planetary portion, you have created the subtle body of the living entities through the agents of your external energy, which is agitated by time. Thus, the mind entraps the living entity in unlimited varieties of desires to be fulfilled by the Vedic directions of Karmakanda, fruitive activity, and the 16 elements. Who can get free from the entanglement unless he takes shelter at your lotus feet? Text 22. My dear Lord, O Supreme Great, you have created this material world of 16 constituents, but you are transcendental to their material qualities. In other words, these material qualities are under your full control, and you are never conquered by them. Therefore, the time element in your representation. My Lord, O Supreme, no one can conquer you. As for me, however, I'm being crushed by the wheel of time, and therefore I surrender fully unto you. Now kindly take me under the protection of your lotus feet. Text 23. My dear Lord, people in general wanted to be elevated to the higher planetary systems for a long duration of life, opulence and enjoyment. But I have seen all of this through the activities of my father. When my father was angry and he laughed sarcastically at the demigods, they were immediately vanquished simply by seeing the movements of his eyebrows. Yet my father, who was so powerful, has now been vanquished by you within a moment. 24. My dear Lord, now I have complete experience concerning the worldly opulence, mystic power, longevity, and other material pleasure enjoyed by all living entities, from Lord Brahma down to the ant. as powerful time, you destroyed them all. Therefore, because of my experience, I do not wish to possess them. My dear Lord, I request you to place me in touch with your pure devotee and let me serve him as a sincere servant. Text 25. In this material world, every living entity desires some future happiness, which is exactly like a mirage in the desert, where in water in the desert, or in the other word, where is happiness in this material world? As for the body, what is its true value? It is merely a source of various diseases. The so-called philosophers, scientists, and politicians know this very well, but nonetheless, they aspire for temporary happiness. Happiness is very difficult to obtain, but because they are unable to control their senses, they run after the so-called happiness of the material world and never come to the right conclusion. Text 26. O my Lord, O Supreme, because I was born in a family full of the hellish material qualities of passion and ignorance, what is my position? And what is to be said of your causeless mercy, which was never offered even to Lord Brahma, Lord Shiva, or the goddess of fortune, Lakshmi? You never put your lotus hand upon their heads, but you have put it upon mine. Text 27. Unlike an ordinary living entity, my Lord, you do not discriminate between friends and enemies, the favorable and the unfavorable. Because of you, there is no conception of higher and lower. Nonetheless, you offer your benedictions according to the level of one's service, exactly as a desired tree delivers fruits according to one's desire and makes no distinction between the lower and the higher. Text 28. My dear Lord, O Supreme Personality of Godhead, because of my association with material desires one after another, I was gradually falling into a blind well full of snakes, following the general populace. But your servant Narada Muni kindly accepted me as his disciple and instructed me how to achieve this transcendental position. Therefore, my first duty is to serve him. How could I leave his service? Text 29. My Lord, O unlimited reservoir of transcendental qualities, you have killed my father Hiranyakashipu and saved me from his sword. He had said very angrily, if there is any supreme controller other than me, let him save you. I shall now sever your head from your body. Therefore, I think that both in saving me and in killing him, you have acted just to prove true the words of your devotee. There is no other cause. Text 30. My dear Lord, you alone manifest yourself as the entire cosmic manifestation, for you existed before the creation. You exist after the annihilation, and you are the maintainer between the beginning and the end. All this is done by your external energy through actions and reaction of three modes of material nature. Therefore, whatever exists externally and internally is you alone. Text 31. My dear Lord, O Supreme Personality of Godhead, the entire cosmic creation is caused by you, and the cosmic manifestation is an effect of your energy. Although the entire cosmos is but you alone, you keep yourself aloof from it. The conception of mine and yours is certainly a type of illusion, Maya, because everything is an emanation from you and is therefore not different from you. Indeed, the cosmic manifestation is not different from you, and the annihilation is also caused by you. This relationship between your lordship and the cosmos is illustrated by the example of the seed and the tree, or subtle cause of and the gross manifestation. Text 32. O my Lord, O Supreme Personality of Godhead, after the annihilation, the creative energy is kept in you, who appear to sleep with half-closed eyes. Actually, however, you do not sleep like an ordinary human being, for you are always in transcendental stage, beyond the creation of the material world, and you always feel transcendental bliss. As Karnodakshaya Vishnu, you thus remain in your transcendental status, but not touching material objects. Although you appear to sleep, the sleeping is distinct from sleeping in ignorance. Text 33. This cosmic manifestation, the material world, is also your body. This total lump of matter is agitated by your potent energy known as Kala Shakti, and thus the three modes of material nature are manifested. You awaken from the bed of Sesha Ananta, and from your navel to small transcendental seed is generated. It is from the seed that the lotus flower of gigantic universe is manifested, exactly as a banyan tree grows from a small seed. Text 34. From the great lotus flower, Brahma was generated, but Brahma certainly could see nothing but the lotus. Therefore, thinking you to be outside, Lord Brahma dove into the water and attempted to find the source of the lotus for 100 years. He could not find no trace of you. However, for when a seed fructifies, the original seed cannot be seen. Text 35. Lord Brahma, who is celebrated as Atma Yoni, having been born without a mother, was struck with wonder. Thus he took shelter of the lotus flower, and when he had been purified after undergoing severe austerities for many hundreds of years, he could see that the cause of all causes, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, was spread throughout his own body and senses, just as aroma, although very subtle, is perceived in the earth. Text 36. Lord Brahma could then see you possessing thousands and thousands of faces, feet, heads, hands, thighs, noses, ears, and eyes. You are very nicely dressed, being decorated and beckoned with varieties of ornaments and weapons. Seeing you in the form of Lord Vishnu, your symptoms and form being transcendental, your legs extending from the lower planets, Lord Brahma achieved transcendental bliss. Text 37. My dear Lord, when you appeared as the Hayagriva with the head of a horse, you killed two demons known as Madhu and Kaitaba, who were full of the mode of passion and ignorance. Then you delivered the Vedic knowledge to Lord Brahma. For this reason, all the great saints accept your forms as transcendental, untinged by material qualities. Text 38. In this way, my Lord, you appear in a various incarnation as a human being, an animal, a great saint, a demigod, a fish, or a tortoise, thus maintaining the entire creation in different planetary system and killing the demonic principles. According to the age, O my Lord, you protect the principle of religion. In the age of Kali, however, you do not assert yourself as the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and therefore you are known as Trayuga, or the Lord who appears in 3 yugas. Text 39. My dear Lord of the Vaikuntha planet, which there is no anxiety, my mind is extremely sinful and lusty, being sometimes so-called happy and sometimes so-called distressed. My mind is full of lamentation and fear, and it always seeks more and more money. Thus it has become most polluted and is never satisfied in topics concerning you. I am therefore most fallen and poor. In such a status of life, how shall I be able to discuss your activities? Text 40. My dear Lord, O infallible one, my position is like that of a person who has many wives, all trying to attract him in their own way. For example, the tongue is attracted to palatable dishes, the genitals to sex. With an attractive woman and the sense of touch, To contact with soft thing, the belly, although filled, still wants to eat more, and the ear, not attempting to hear about you, is generally attracted to cinema songs. The sense of smell is attracted to yet another side. The restless eyes are attracted to sense of sense gratification, and the activity senses are attracted elsewhere. In this way, I'm certainly embarrassed. Text 41. My dear Lord, you are always transcendentally situated on the other side of the river of death. But because of the reaction of your own activities, we are suffering on this side. Indeed, we have fallen into the river and are repeatedly suffering the pains of birth and death and eating horrible things. Now kindly look upon us, not only upon me, but also upon all others who are suffering. And by your causeless mercy and compassion, deliver us and maintain us. Text 42. O my Lord, O Supreme Personality of Godhead, original spiritual master of the entire world, what is the difficulty for you, who manage the affairs of the universe, in delivering the fallen soul engaged in your devotional service? You are the friend of all suffering humanity. And for great personalities, it is necessary to show mercy to the foolish. Therefore, I think that you will show your causeless mercy to persons like us who engage in your service. Text 43. O best of great personalities, I'm not at all afraid of material existence, for whenever I stay, I'm fully absorbed in thoughts of your glories and activities. My concern is only for the fools and rascals who are making elaborate plans for material happiness and maintaining their families, societies, and countries. I am simply concerned with love for them. Text 44. My dear Lord Narasimhadeva, I see that there are many saintly persons indeed, but they are interested only in their own deliverance, not caring for the big cities and towns. They go to the Himalayas for the forest to meditate with vows of silence, Maunarata. They are not interested in delivering others. As for me, however, I do not wish to liberate it alone, leaving aside all these poor fools and rascals. I know that without Krishna consciousness, without taking shelter of your lotus feet, one cannot be happy. Therefore, I wish to bring them back to shelter at your lotus feet. Text 45. Sex life is compared to the rubbing of two hands to relieve an itch. Grahamedis, so-called grahastas, who have no spiritual knowledge, think that this itching is great platform of happiness, although actually it is a source of distress. The Karpanas, the fools who are just the opposite of Brahmanas, are not satisfied by repeated sensuous enjoyment. Those who are dhira, however, who are sober and who tolerate his itching, are not subjected to the suffering of fools and rascals. Text 48. O Supreme Personality of Godhead, there are 10 prescribed methods on the path to the liberation: to remain silent, not to speak to anyone, to observe vows, to amass of all kinds of Vedic knowledge, to undergo austerities, to study the Vedas and other Vedic literatures, to execute the duties of Varnashrama Dharma, to explain these shastras, to stay in a solitary place, to chant mantra silently and to be absorbed in trance. Thereafter, these different methods for liberations are generally only a professional practice and means of livelihood for those who are not conquered their senses, because such persons are falsely proud. These procedures may not be successful. Text 47. By authorized Vedic knowledge, one can see that the forms of cause and effect in the cosmic manifestation belong to Supreme Personality of Godhead, for the cosmic manifestation is his energy. Both cause and effect are nothing but energies of the Lord. Therefore, O my Lord, just as a wise man, by considering cause and effect, can see how fire prevails, would those engaged in devotional service understand how you are both the cause and effect. Text 48. O Supreme Lord, you are actually the air, the earth, fire, sky, and water. You are the objects of sense perception, the life airs, the five senses, the mind, the consciousness, and false ego. Indeed, you are everything, subtle and gross, the material elements and anything expressed, either by the words or by the mind, are nothing but you. Text 49. Neither the three modes of material nature, Sattva Guna, Rajoguna, and Tamoguna, nor the predominating deities controlling these three modes, nor the five gross materials, nor the gross elements, nor the mind, nor the demigods, nor the human beings can understand your lordship, for they are all subjected to birth and annihilation. Considering this, the spiritually advanced have taken to devotional service. Such wise men hardly bother with Vedic study. Instead, they engage themselves in practical devotional service. Text 50. Therefore, O Supreme Personality of Godhead, the best of all persons to whom prayers are offered, I offer my respectful obeisance unto you, because without rendering 6 kinds of devotional services unto you, offering prayers, dedicating all the results of activities, worshipping you, working on your behalf, always remembering your lotus feet and hearing about your glories, who can achieve that which is meant for the Paramahamsas? Text 51. The great saint Narada said, thus Lord Narasimhadev was pacified by the devotee Prahlad Maharaja with prayers offered from the transcendental platform. The Lord gave up his anger and being very kind to Prahlad, who was offering prostrated obeisances, he spoke as follows. Text 52. The Supreme Personality of Godhead said, my dear Prahlada, most gentle one, best of the family of the Asuras, all good fortune unto you. I am very much pleased with you. It is my pastime to fulfill the desires of all living beings, and therefore you may ask from me any benediction that you desire to be fulfilled. Text 53. My dear Prahlada, may you live a long time. One cannot appreciate or understand me without pleasing me, but one who has seen or pleased me has nothing more for which to lament for his own satisfaction. Text 54. My dear Prahlada, you are very fortunate. Please know me from me that those who are very wise and highly elevated try to please me in all different modes of mellows. For I am the only person who can fulfill all the desires of everyone. Text 55. Narada Muni said, Prahlad Maharaja was the best person in the family of Asuras, who always aspire for material happiness. Nonetheless, although allured by the Supreme Personality of Godhead, who offered him all benedictions for material happiness, because of his unalloyed Krishna consciousness, he did not want to take any material benefit for sense gratification. Hare Krishna.
Chapter 10. Prahlad, the best among exalted devotees. Text 1. The saint Narada Muni continued, although Prahlad Maharaj was only a boy, when he heard the benedictions offered by Lord Narasimhadev, he considered them impediments on the path of devotional service. Thus, he smiled very mildly and spoke as follows. Text 2. Prahlad Maharaj said, my dear Lord, O Supreme Personality of Godhead, because I was born in an atheistic family, I am naturally attached to material enjoyment. Therefore, kindly do not tempt me with these illusions. I am very much afraid of material conditions, and I desire to be liberated from materialistic life. It is for this reason that I have taken shelter of your lotus feet. Text 3. O my worshipable Lord, because of the seed of lusty desires, which is the root cause of material existence, is within the core of everyone's heart. You have sent me to this material world to exhibit the symptoms of pure devotee. Otherwise, O my Lord, O Supreme Instructor of the entire world, you are so kind to your devotee that you could not induce him to do something unbeneficial for him. On the other hand, one who desires some material benefit in exchange for devotional service cannot be your pure devotee. Indeed, he is no better than a merchant who wants profit in exchange for service. A servant who desires material profits from his master is certainly not a qualified servant or pure devotee. Similarly, a master who bestows benedictions upon his servant because of a desire to maintain a prestigious position as master is also not a pure master. Text 6. O my Lord, I am your unmotivated servant, and you are my eternal master. There is no need of our being anything other than master and servant. You are naturally my master, and I'm naturally your servant. We have no other relationship. Text 7. O my Lord, best of the givers of benedictions, if you at all want to bestow a desirable benediction upon me, I pray from your Lordship that within the core of my heart, there be no material desires. O my Lord, because of lusty desires from the very beginning of one's birth, the functions of one's senses, mind, life, body, religion, patience, intelligence, shyness, opulence, strength, memory, and truthfulness are vanquished. Text 9. O my Lord, when a human being is able to give up all the material desires in his mind, he becomes eligible to possess wealth and opulence like yours. Text 10. O my Lord, full of 6 opulences, O Supreme Person, O Supreme Soul, killer of all the miseries, O Supreme Person in the form of a wonderful lion and man, let me offer my respectful obeisances unto you. The Supreme Personality of Godhead said, My dear Prahalad, a devotee like you never desires any kind of material opulences, either in this life or in the next. Nonetheless, I order you to enjoy the opulences of the demons in this material world, acting as their king until the end of the duration of time occupied by Manu. Text 12. It does not matter that you are in the material world. You should always continuously hear the instructions and messages given by me and always be absorbed in thought of me, for I am the super soul existing in the core of everyone's heart. Therefore, give up fruitive activities and worship me. Text 13. My dear Prahalad, while you are in this material world, you will exhaust all the reactions of pious activity by feeling happiness, and by acting piously, you will neutralize impious activity. Because of the powerful time factor, you will give up your body, but the glories of your activities will be sung in the upper planetary systems. And being fully freed from all bondage, you will return home back to Godhead. One who always remembers your activities and my activities also, and who chants the prayers you have offered, becomes free in due course of time from the reactions of material activities. Prahalad Maharaj said, O Supreme Lord, because you are so merciful to the fallen souls, I ask you for only one benediction. I know that my father, at the time of his death, had already been purified by your glance upon him. But because of his ignorance of your beautiful power and supremacy, he was unnecessarily angry at you, falsely thinking that you were the killer of his brother. Thus, he directly blasphemed your lordship, the spiritual master of all living beings, and committed heavily sinful activities directed against me, your devotee. I wish that he be excused for these sinful activities. Text 18. The Supreme Personality of Godhead said, My dear Prahalad, O most pure, O great saintly person, your father has been purified along with 21 forefathers in your family. Because you were born in this family, the entire dynasty has been purified. Text 19. Whenever and wherever there are peaceful, equipoised devotees who are well behaved and decorated with all good qualities, that place and the dynasty is there, even if condemned or purified. Text 20. My dear Prahalad, king of the Daityas, because of being attached to devotional service to me, my devotee does not distinguish between lower and higher living entities. In all respects, he is never jealous of anyone. Those who follow your example will naturally become my pure devotees. You are the best example of my devotee, and others should follow in your footsteps. Text 22. My dear child, your father has already been purified by the touch of my body at the time of his death. Nonetheless, the duty of a son is to perform the Shraddha ceremony after his father's death, so that his father may be promoted to a planetary system where he may become a good citizen and devotee. Text 23. After performing the ritualistic ceremonies, take charge of your father's kingdom. Sit upon the throne and do not be disturbed by materialistic activities. Please keep your mind fixed upon me. Without transgressing the injunctions of Vedas as a matter of formality, you may perform your particular duties. Text 24. Sri Narada Muni continued, thus, as the Supreme Personality of Godhead ordered, Prahalad Maharaj performed the ritualistic ceremonies for his father. O King Yudhishthir, he was then enthroned in the kingdom of Hiranyakashipu as directed by Brahmanas. Text 25. Lord Brahma, surrounded by the other demigods, was bright-faced because the Lord was pleased. Thus he offered prayers to the Lord with the transcendental words. Text 26. Lord Brahma said, O Supreme Lord of all lords, proprietor of the entire universe, O benedictor of all living entities, O original person, Adi Purusha, because of our good fortune, you have now killed this sinful demon who was giving trouble to the entire universe. Text 27. This demon Hiranyakashipu received from me the benediction that he would not be killed by any living being within my creation. With this assurance and with strength derived from austerities and mystic power, he became excessively proud and transgressed all the Vedic injunctions. Text 28. By great fortune, Hiranyakashipu's son Prahalad Maharaj has now been released from death. For although he is a child, he is an exalted devotee. Now he is fully under the protection of your lotus feet. Text 29. My dear Lord, O Supreme Personality of Godhead, you are the Supreme Soul. If one meditates upon your transcendental body, you naturally protect him from all sources of fear, even the imminent danger of death. Text 30. The Personality of Godhead replied, my dear Lord Brahma, O great Lord born from the lotus flower, just as it is dangerous to feed milk to a snake, so it is dangerous to give benedictions to demons who are by nature ferocious and jealous. I warn you not to give such benedictions to any demon again.
Mother Malati, are you ready?
Text 31. Narada Muni continued, O King Yudhishthir, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, who is not visible. Oh, wait. I'm sorry. Narada Muni continued, O King Yudhishthir, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, who is not visible to an ordinary human being, spoke in this way, instructing Lord Brahma. Then, being worshipped by Brahma, the Lord disappeared from that place. 32. Prahlad Maharaj then worshipped and offered prayers to all the demigods, such as Brahma, Shiva, and the Prajapatis, who are all parts of the Lord. Thereafter, along with Sukracharya and other great saints, Lord Brahma, whose seat is on the lotus flower, made Prahlad the king of all demons and giants in the universe. O King Yudhisthira, after all the demigods headed by Lord Brahma were properly worshipped by Prahlad Maharaj, they offered Prahlad their utmost benedictions and then returned to their respective abodes. Text 35. Thus the two associates of Lord Vishnu, who had become Hiranyaksha and Hiranyakasipu, the sons of Diti, were both killed. By illusion, they had thought that the Supreme Lord, who is situated in everyone's heart, was their enemy. 36. Being cursed by the Brahmanas, the same two associates took birth again as Kumbhakarna and the tin-headed Ravana. These two Rakshasas were killed by Lord Ramachandra's extraordinary power.
Mother Malati, can you please turn your camera on?
I'm sorry. Okay.
Okay, text 37 now. Yeah, please go.
Pierced by the arrows of Lord Ramachandra, both Kumbhakarna and Ravana lay on the ground and left their bodies, fully absorbed in thought of the Lord, just as they had in their previous births as Hiranyaksha and Hiranyakasipu. They both took birth again in human society as Sishupal and Dantavakra, and continued in the same enmity towards the Lord. It is they who merged into the body of the Lord in your presence. Not only Sishupal and Dantavakra, but also many other kings who acted as enemies of Krishna attained salvation at the time of death. Because they thought of the Lord, they received spiritual bodies and forms the same as his, just as worms captured by a black drone obtained the same type of body as the drone. By devotional service, pure devotees who incessantly think of the Supreme Personality of Godhead receive bodies similar to his. This is known as Sarupya Mukti. Although Sishupal, Dantavakra, and other kings thought of Krishna as an enemy, they also achieved the same result. 41. Everything you asked me about how Sishupal and others attained salvation, although they were inimical, has now been explained to you by me. 42. In this narration about Krishna, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, various expansions or incarnations of the Lord have been described, and the killing of the two demons, Hiranyaksha and Hiranyakasipu, has also been described. 43 and 44. This narration describes the characteristics of the great and exalted devotee, Prahlad Maharaj, his staunch devotional service, his perfect knowledge, and his perfect detachment from material contamination. It also describes the Supreme Personality of Godhead as the cause of creation, maintenance, and annihilation. Prahlad Maharaj, in his prayers, has described the transcendental qualities of the Lord and has also described how the various abodes of the demigods and demons, regardless of how materially opulent, are destroyed by mere direction of the Lord. 45. The principles of religion by which one can actually understand the Supreme Personality of Godhead are called Bhagavad Dharma. In this narration, therefore, which deals with these principles, actual transcendence is properly described. Text 46. One who hears and chants this narration about the omnipotence of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Vishnu, is certainly liberated from material bondage without fail. Prahlad Maharaj was the best among exalted devotees. Anyone who with great attention hears this narration concerning the activities of Prahlad Maharaj, the killing of Hiranyakasipu, and the activities of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Nrsimhadev, surely reaches the spiritual world where there is no anxiety. 48. Narada Muni continued, my dear Maharaj Yudhisthira, all of you, the Pandavas, are extremely fortunate, for the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Krishna, lives in your palace, just like a human being. Great saintly persons know this very well, and therefore they constantly visit this house. 49. The impersonal Brahman is Krishna himself, because Krishna is the source of the impersonal Brahman. He is the origin of the transcendental bliss sought by great saintly persons. Yet he, the Supreme Person, is your most dear friend and constant well-wisher, and is intimately related to you as the son of your maternal uncle. Indeed, he is always like your body and soul. He is worshipable, yet he acts as your servant and sometimes as your spiritual master. 50. Exalted persons like Lord Shiva and Lord Brahma could not properly describe the truth of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Krishna. May the Lord, who is always worshipped as the protector of all devotees by great saints who observe vows of silence, meditation, devotional service, and renunciation, be pleased with us. My dear King Yudhisthira, long, long ago in history, a demon known as Mayadanava, who was very expert in technical knowledge, reduced the reputation of Lord Shiva. In that situation, Krishna, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, saved Lord Shiva. 52. Maharaj Yudhisthira said, for what reason did the demon Mayadanava vanquish Lord Shiva's reputation? How did Lord Krishna save Lord Shiva and expand his reputation again? Kindly describe these incidents. 53. Narada Muni said, when the demigods, who are always powerful by the mercy of Lord Krishna, fought with the asuras were defeated, and therefore they took shelter of Mayadanava, the greatest of the demons. Text 54 and 55. Mayadanava, the great leader of the demons, prepared 3 invisible residents and gave them to the demons. These dwelling resembled airplanes made of gold, silver, and iron, and they contain uncommon paraphernalia. My dear King Yudhisthira, because of these 3 dwellings, the commanders of the demons remained invisible to the demigods. Taking advantage of this opportunity, the demons, remembering their former enmity, began to vanquish the 3 worlds, the upper, middle, and lower planetary systems. 56. Thereafter, when the demons had begun to destroy the higher planetary systems, the ruler of those planets went to Lord Shiva, fully surrendered unto him, and said, dear Lord, we demigods living in the 3 worlds are about to be vanquished. We are your followers. Kindly save us. 57. The most powerful and able Lord Shiva reassured them and said, do not be afraid. He then fixed his arrows to his bow and released them toward the 3 residences occupied by the demons. 58. The arrows released by Lord Shiva appeared like fiery beams emanating from the sun globe and covered the 3 residential airplanes, which could then no longer be seen. 59. Attacked by Lord Shiva's golden arrows, all the demoniac inhabitants of those 3 dwellings lost their lives and fell down. Then the great mystic Mayadanava dropped the demons into a nectarian well that he had created. 60. When the dead bodies of the demons came in touch with the nectar, Their bodies became invisible to thunderbolts. Endowed with great strength, they got up like lightning, penetrating clouds. 61. Seeing Lord Shiva very much aggrieved and disappointed, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Lord Vishnu, considered how to stop this nuance created by Maya Danava. 62. Then Lord Brahma became a calf and Lord Vishnu a cow, and at noon they entered the residence and drank all the nectar in the well. 63. The demons could see the calf and the cow, but because of the illusion created by the energy of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, the demons could not forbid them. The great mystic Maya Danava became aware that the calf and the cow were drinking the nectar, and he could understand this to be the unseen power of providence. Thus he spoke to the demons, who were grievously lamenting. 64. Maya Danava said, what has been destined by the Supreme Lord for oneself, for others, or for both, oneself and others, cannot be undone anywhere or by anyone, whether one be a demigod, a demon, a human being, or anyone else. 65 and 66. Narada Muni continued, thereafter, Lord Krishna, by his own personal potency, consisting of religion, knowledge, renunciation, opulence, austerity, education, and activities, equipped Lord Shiva with all the necessary paraphernalia, such as a chariot, a charioteer, a flag, horse, elephants, a bow, a shield, and arrows. When Lord Shiva was fully equipped in this way, he sat down on the chariot with his arrows and bow to fight with the demons. 67. My dear King Yudhisthira, the most powerful Lord Shiva joined the arrows to his bow, and at noon he set fire to all three residences of the demons and thus destroyed them. 68. Seated in their airplanes in the sky, the inhabitants of the higher planetary systems beat many kettle drums. The demigods, saints, pitas, siddhas, and various great personalities showered flowers on the head of Lord Shiva, wishing him all victory, and the apsaras began to chant and dance with great pleasure. 69. O King Yudhisthira, thus Lord Shiva is known as Tripurari, the annihilator of the three dwellings of the demons, because he burnt these dwellings to ashes. Being worshipped by the demigods headed by Lord Brahma, Lord Shiva returned to his own abode. 70. The Lord, Sri Krishna, appeared as a human being, yet he performed many uncommon and wonderful pastimes by his own potency. How can I say more about his activities than what has already been said by great saintly persons? Anyone can be purified by his activities simply by hearing about them from the right source.
Thank you, Mother. Gurudas Prabhu, you're next.
Hare Krishna, and thank you for inviting me. But Mata, I'm servant of you in this Sangha. Is it not 8 o'clock? Should I continue?
Yes, actually, because we are trying to catch up because some of the verses were way too long in Canto 5, so we're kind of behind. So yeah, we will just, maybe we'll try to finish today's quota. Yes, please. Thank you. Chapter 11.
Thank you very much. And my obeisances to you and all the devotees in this Sangha. Obeisances to my Guru Maharaj and Srila Prabhupada.
Jai Prabhu.
Chapter 11, the perfect society, 4 social classes. Text 1. Shukadev Goswami continued. After hearing about the activities and character of Prahlad Maharaj, which are adorned and discussed among great personalities like Lord Brahma and Lord Shiva, Yudhisthira Maharaj, the most respectful king among exalted personalities, again inquired from the great saint Narada Muni in a mood of great pleasure. 2. Maharaj Yudhisthira said, my dear Lord, I wish to hear from you about the principles of religion by which one can attain the ultimate goal of life, devotional service. I wish to hear about the general occupational duties of human society and the system of social and spiritual advancement known as Varnashram Dharma. O best of the Brahmanas, you are directly the son of Prajapati, Lord Brahma. Because of your austerities, mystic yoga and trance, you are considered the best of all Lord Brahma's sons. No one is superior to you in peaceful life and mercy, and no one knows better than you how to execute devotional service or to become the best, or how to become the best of the Brahmanas. Therefore, you know all the principles of confidential religious life, and no one knows them better than you. 5. Sri Narada Muni said, after first offering my obeisances unto Lord Krishna, the protector of the religious principles of all living entities, let me explain the principles of the eternal religious system of which I have heard from the mouth of Narayan. Lord Narayan, along with his partial manifestation, Nara, appears in this world through the daughter of Daksha Maharaj, known as Murti. He was begotten by Dharma Maharaj for the benefit of all living entities. Even now, he is still engaged in executing great austerities near the place known as Bhadarikashram. 7. The Supreme Being, the personality of Godhead, is the essence of all Vedic knowledge, the root of all religious principles, and the memory of great authorities. O King Yudhisthira, this principle of religion is to be understood as evidence. On the basis of this religious principle, everyone is satisfied. Everything is satisfied, including one's mind, soul, and even one's body. Text 8 through 12. These are the general principles to be followed by all human beings. Truthfulness, mercy, austerity, observing fasts on certain days of the month, bathing twice a day, tolerance, discrimination between right and wrong, control of the mind, control of the senses, nonviolence, celibacy, charity, reading of scripture, simplicity, satisfaction, rendering service to saintly persons, gradually taking leave of unnecessary engagements, observing the futility of the unnecessary activities of human society, remaining silent and grave, and avoiding unnecessary talk, considering whether one is the body or the soul, distributing food equally to all living entities, both men and animals, seeing every soul, especially in the human form, as a part of the Supreme Lord, hearing about the activities and instructions given by the Supreme Personality of Godhead, who is the shelter of the saintly persons, chanting about these activities and instructions, always remembering these activities and instructions, trying to render service, performing worship, offering obeisances, becoming a servant, becoming a friend, and surrendering one's whole self. O King Yudhisthira, these 30 qualifications must be acquired in the human form of life. Simply by acquiring these qualifications, one can satisfy the Supreme Personality of Godhead. 13. Those who have been reformed by the Garbhadan ceremony and other prescribed reformatory methods, performed with Vedic mantras and without interruption, and who have been approved by Lord Brahma, are Dvijas, or twice born. Such Brahmanas, Kshatriyas, Vaishyas, purified by their family traditions and by their behaviors, should worship the Lord, study the Vedas, and give charity. In this system, they should follow the principles of the 4 ashrams: Brahmacharya, Grihastha, Vanaprastha, and Sannyas. For a Brahmana, there are 6 occupational duties. A Kshatriya should not accept charity, but he may perform the other 5 of these duties. A king or kshatriya is not allowed to levy taxes on brahmanas, but he may make his livelihood by levying minimal taxes, custom duties, and penalty fines upon his other subjects. 15. The mercantile community should always follow the directions of the brahmanas and engage in such occupational duties as agriculture, trade, and protection of cows. For the Shudras, the only duty is to accept a master from the higher social order and engage in his service. 16. As an alternative, a Brahmana may also take to the Vaishya's occupational duty of agriculture, cow protection, or trade. He may depend on that which he has received without begging. He may beg in the paddy field every day, and he may collect the paddy left in the field by its proprietor. Or he may collect food grains left here and there in the shops of the grain dealers. These are 4 means of livelihood that may also be adopted by brahmanas. Among these 4, each of them in succession is better than the one preceding it. 17. Except in time of emergency, lower persons should not accept the occupational duties of those who are higher. When there is such an emergency, of course, everyone but the kshatriya may accept the means of livelihood of others. Text 18 through 20. In time of emergency, one may accept any of the various types of professions known as Rita, Amrita, Mrita, Pramrita, and Sayanrita. But one should not at any time accept the profession of a dog. The profession of Unchashila, collecting grains from the field, is called Rita. Collecting without begging is called Amrita. Begging grains is called Rita. Tilling the ground is called Pramrita, and trade is called Satanrita. Engaging in the service of low-grade persons, however, is called Svariti, the profession of the dog. Specifically, brahmanas and kshatriyas should not engage in the low and abominable service of Shudras. Brahmanas should be well equipped with all the Vedic knowledge, and kshatriyas should be well equipped with the worship of demigods. 21. The symptoms of a brahmana are control of the mind, control of the senses, austerity and penance, cleanliness, satisfaction, forgiveness, simplicity, knowledge, mercy, truthfulness, and complete surrender to the Supreme Personality of Godhead. To be influential in battle, unconquerable, patient, challenging, and charitable, to control the bodily necessities, to be forgiving, to be attached to the Brahminical nature, and to be always jolly and truthful. These are the symptoms of the Kshatriya. 23. Being always devoted to the demigods, the spiritual master, and the Supreme Lord Vishnu, endeavoring for advancement in religious principles, economic development, and sense gratification, dharma, artha, and kama. Believing in the words of the spiritual master in scripture, and always endeavoring with expertise in earning money. These are the symptoms of the Vaishya. 24. Offering obeisances to the higher sections of society, the Brahmanas, Kshatriyas, and Vaishyas. Being always very clean, being free from duplicity, serving one's master, performing sacrifices without uttering mantras, not stealing, always speaking the truth, and giving all protection to the cows and brahmanas. These are the symptoms of the Shudra. 25. To render service to the husband, to be always favorably disposed toward the husband, to be equally well disposed toward the husband's relatives and friends, and to follow the vows of the husband. These are the 4 principles to be followed by women described as chaste. 26 and 27. A chaste woman must dress nicely, decorate herself with golden ornaments for the pleasure of her husband, always wearing clean and attractive garments. She should sweep and clean the household with water and other liquids so that the entire house is always pure and clean. She should collect the household paraphernalia and keep the house always aromatic with incense and flowers, and must be ready to execute the desires of her husband, being modest and truthful, controlling her senses, and speaking in sweet words. A chaste woman should engage in the service of her husband with love according to time and circumstances. 28. A chaste woman should not be greedy, but satisfied in all circumstances. She must be very expert in handling household affairs and should be fully conversant with religious principles. She should speak pleasingly and truthfully, and should be very careful and always clean and pure. Thus, a chaste woman should engage with affection in the service of a husband who is not fallen. The woman who engages in the service of her husband, following strictly in the footsteps of the goddess of fortune, surely returns home back to Godhead with her devotee husband and lives very happily in the Vaikuntha planets. 30. Among the mixed classes known as Shankara, those who are not thieves are known as Antevashai or Chandalas, dog eaters, and they also have their hereditary customs. My dear king, Brahmanas well conversant in Vedic knowledge have given their verdict that in every age or yuga, the conduct of different sections of people according to their material modes of nature is auspicious, both in this life and after death. 32. If one acts in his profession according to his position in the modes of nature and gradually gives up these activities, he attains the Nishkama stage. 33 and 34. My dear king, if an agricultural field is cultivated again and again, the power of its production decreases and whatever seeds are sown there are lost. Just as drops of ghee on a fire never extinguish the fire, but a flood of ghee will. Similarly, overindulgence in the lusty desires mitigates such desires entirely. 35. If one shows the symptoms of being a Brahmana, Kshatriya, Vaishya, or Shudra, as described above, even if he has appeared in a different class, he should be accepted according to those symptoms classification.
Thank you, Prabhuji. Nita Leela, chapter 31. I'm sorry, chapter 31, chapter 12, sorry.
The perfect society for spiritual classes. Next one. Narada Muni said, a student should practice completely controlling his senses. He should be submissive and should have an attitude of firm friendship for the spiritual master. With a great vow, the brahmachari should live at the Gurukula only for the benefit of the Guru. Text 2. At both junctions of day and night, namely in the early morning and in the evening, he should be fully absorbed in thoughts of the spiritual master, fire, the sun god, and Lord Vishnu, and by chanting the Gayatri mantra, he should worship them. Being called by the spiritual master, the student should study the Vedic mantras regularly. Every day before beginning his studies and at the end of his studies, the disciple should respectfully offer obeisances unto the spiritual master. 4. Carrying pure kusha grass in his hand, the brahmachari should dress regularly with a belt of straw and with deerskin garments. He should wear matted hair, carry a rod and water pot, and be decorated with a sacred thread as recommended in the Shastras. 5. The brahmachari should go out morning and evening to collect alms, and he should offer all that he collects to the spiritual master. He should eat only if ordered to take food by the spiritual master. Otherwise, if the spiritual master does not give this order, he may sometimes have to fast. A brahmachari should be quite well behaved and gentle and should not eat or collect more than necessary. He must always be active and expert, fully believing in the instructions of the spiritual master and the Shastra. Fully controlling his senses, he should associate only as much as necessary with women or those controlled by women. A brahmachari, or one who has not accepted the grihastha ashram family life, must rigidly avoid talking with women or about women, for the senses are so powerful that they may agitate even the mind of a sannyasi, a member of the renounced order of life. Text 8. If the wife of the spiritual master is young, a young brahmachari should not allow her to care for his hair, massage his body with oil, or bathe him with affection like a mother. 9. Woman is compared to fire, and man is compared to a butter pot. Therefore, a man should avoid associating even with his own daughter in a secluded place. Similarly, he should also avoid association with other women. One should associate with women only for important business and not otherwise. 10. As long as a living entity is not completely self-realized, as long as he is not independent of the misconception of identifying with his body, which is nothing but a reflection of the original body and senses, he cannot be relieved of the conception of duality, which is epitomized by the duality between man and woman. Thus, there's every chance that he will fall down because his intelligence is bewildered. Text 11. All the rules and regulations apply equally to the householder and the sannyasi, the member of the renounced order of life. The grihastha, however, is given permission by the spiritual master to indulge in sex during the period favorable for procreation. Brahmacharis or grihasthas who have taken the vow of celibacy as described above should not indulge in the following: applying powder or ointment to the eyes, massaging the head with oil, massaging the body with the hands, seeing a woman or painting a woman's picture, eating meat, drinking wine, decorating the body with flower garlands, smearing scented ointment on the body, or decorating the body with ornaments. These they should give up. Text 13 to 14. According to the rules and regulations mentioned above, one who is twice born, namely a Brahmana, Kshatriya, or Vaishya, should reside in the Gurukula under the care of the spiritual master. There he should study and learn all the Vedic literatures along with their supplements in the Upanishads, according to his ability and power to study. If possible, the student or disciple should reward the spiritual master with the remuneration the spiritual master requests. And then, following the master's order, the disciple should leave and accept one of the other ashramas, namely the Grihastha ashram, Vanaprastha ashram, or Sannyas ashram, as he desires. 15. One should realize that in the fire, in the spiritual master, in oneself, and in all living entities, in all circumstances and conditions, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Vishnu, has simultaneously entered and not entered. He is situated externally and internally as the full controller of everything. 16. By practicing in this way, whether one be in the Brahmachari ashram, Grihastha ashram, Vanaprastha ashram, or Sannyas ashram, one must always realize the all-pervading presence of the Supreme Lord, for in this way it is possible to understand the absolute truth. O King, I shall now describe the qualifications for Vanaprastha, one who has retired from family life. By rigidly following the rules and regulations for the Vanaprastha, one can easily be elevated to the upper planetary system known as Maharloka. 18. A person in Vanaprastha life should not eat grains grown by tilling of the fields. He should also not eat grains that have grown without tilling of the field, but are not fully ripe. Nor should a Vanaprastha eat grains cooked in fire. Indeed, he should eat only fruit ripened by the sunshine. 19. A Vanaprastha should prepare cakes to be offered in sacrifice from fruits and grains grown naturally in the forest. When he obtains some new grains, he should give up his old stock of grains. A Vanaprastha should prepare a thatched cottage or take shelter of a cave in a mountain only to keep the sacred fire. but he should personally practice enduring snowfall, wind, fire, rain, and the shining of the sun. The Vanaprastha should wear matted locks of hair on his head and let his body hair, nails, and mustache grow. He should not cleanse his body of dirt. He should keep a water pot, deerskin, and rod, wear the bark of a tree as a covering, and use garments colored like fire. Being very thoughtful, a Vanaprastha should remain in the forest for 12 years, 8 years, 4 years, 2 years, or at least 1 year. He should behave in such a way that he will not be disturbed or troubled by too much austerity. 23. When, because of disease or old age, one is unable to perform his prescribed duties for advancement in spiritual consciousness or study of the Vedas, he should practice fasting, not taking any food. 24. He should properly place the fire element in his own self, and in this way give up bodily affinity, by which one thinks the body to be oneself or one's own. One should gradually merge the material body into the 5 elements: earth, water, fire, air, and sky. 25. A sober, self-realized person who has full knowledge should merge the various parts of the body in their original sources. The holes in the body are caused by the sky. The process of breathing is caused by the air. The heat of the body is caused by fire, and semen, blood, and mucus are caused by water. The hard substances, like skin, muscle, and bone, are caused by earth. In this way, all the constituents of the body are caused by various elements, and they should be merged again into those elements. Therefore, the object of speech, along with the sense of speech, the tongue, should be bestowed upon fire. Craftsmanship and the 2 hands should be given to the demigod Indra. The power of movement and the legs should be given to Lord Vishnu. Sensual pleasure, along with the genitals, should be bestowed upon Prajapati. The rectum, with the power of evacuation, should be bestowed in its proper place unto Mrityu. The oral instrument, along with sound vibration, should be given to the deities presiding over the directions. The instrument of touch, along with the sense objects of touch, should be given to Vayu. Form, with the power of sight, should be bestowed upon the sun. The tongue, along with the demigod Varuna, should be bestowed upon water. And the power of smell, along with the 2 Ashwini Kumara demigods, should be bestowed upon the earth. 29 to 30. The mind, along with all material desires, should be merged in the moon demigod. All the subject matters of intelligence, along with the intelligence itself, should be placed in Lord Brahma. False ego, which is under the influence of the material modes of nature, and which induces one to think, I am this body, and everything connected with this body is mine, should be merged along with material activities in Rudra, the predominating deity of false ego. Material consciousness, along with the goal of thought, should be merged in the individual living being, and the demigods acting under the modes of material nature should be merged along with the perverted living being into the supreme being.
Thank you. Thank you, Mother Nita Leela. Yes, we actually went so much over time, but thank you so much. We are now all caught up. So tomorrow we'll be back on schedule.
But I think we just have 1 verse left. I didn't read the last 2. I was just in the middle of the second last verse. You don't want me to finish?
I thought you finished it. I'm sorry. Continue.
No, it's okay. No, I was just reading in the middle of text 30. So just let me finish.
Oh, you stopped. So I thought it was done. I was not paying attention. Sorry.
No, that's fine. The earth should be merged in water, water in the brightness of the sun, this brightness into the air into the sky into the false ego into the total material energy, the total material energy into the unmanifested ingredients, and at last the ingredient feature of material manifestation into the supersoul. Text 31. When all the material designations have thus merged into their respective material elements, the living beings, who are all ultimately completely spiritual, being one in quality with the Supreme Being, should cease from material existence, as flames cease when the wood in which they're burning is consumed. When the material body is returned to its various material elements, only the spiritual being remains. This spiritual being is Brahman and is equal in quality with Parabrahman.
All right. Thank you. Hare Krishna. Thank you for sticking and staying on.
Thank you.
Jai. All glories to Prabhupada, all glories to Srimad Bhagavatam. Mancha kalpatarubhyascha kripa sindhubhyaivaч patitanam pavanebhyo Shri Vaishnavabhyo namo namaha. So tomorrow we'll start with Canto 7, Chapter 13. Hari Bol. Hari Hari Bol.